Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. 2026 will mark the 250th anniversary of the founding of our great nation. In honor and in lead up to that event, Florida is going to be hosting today is the first of many events celebrating America, its founding, and its traditions. What we're going to see today was the idea of the governor, and we are really excited to demonstrate and show the nation that Florida, in the run-up to 2026, will be hosting many such events. So without further ado, yeah. So I want to thank first the governor, First Lady DeSantis, for defending our history by proudly displaying this statue of George Washington for the public to admire. I want to give special thanks to the Mount Vernon Ladies Association, the site's director, its curators and staff who worked with our team in Florida to make this possible. My team at the Division of Historical Resources played an important part in the transport, care, and installation of this statue. We are grateful to provide a home for this important symbol of our republic. The statue comes under our stewardship just in time to spark some early interest for our semi-quincentennial celebrations next year, which marked the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776. Because of the strong relationship the Department of Historical Resources has maintained with Mount Vernon through the years, they were excited to share the statue with us. Now, thousands of people who visit Florida's Capitol building every year will see the statue and will inspire patriotism and remind people of the civic virtue embodied in President Washington. A little bit of background on the statue. It was sculpted by Robert Schur in 1996. The 6.5-foot bronze statue depicts Washington as the American Cincinnatus, a reference to the Roman soldier and farmer who resigned great military power and returned to civilian life. It is a powerful symbol of the wisdom, strength, and civic virtue of America's first president. It is a replica of the marble statue by French sculptor Jean-Antoine Houdon from the late 18th century. The original still stands in the Virginia Capitol today. As Florida's Chief Arts and Cultural Officer, I hope to see more great works of art like this that are family-friendly and have a great educational value. That's why I enthusiastically support the governor's focus on the fiscal responsibility budget, which includes funding for arts and culture projects related to the America 250 celebration. These grants will inspire patriotic works of art that all Floridians can enjoy. Once again, thank you, Governor, for your leadership. Without further ado, thank you.
Well, thanks so much. Well, thanks, Cord, for helping make this happen. We also want to recognize our Senate President, Ben Albritton, our President Emeritus, Kathleen Pasadomo, our new Attorney General, James Uthmeier, has gotten off to a great start. He's making things happen. And then, of course, our wonderful First Lady, my wife, Casey, for being here. We're here. We decided to do this today leading into the weekend. I've got to be up in Washington tomorrow, but President's Day is actually not the holiday in the U.S. Code. The holiday is put in statute to commemorate George Washington's birthday. And I think it's important to remember that because he is the father of our country, and he earned the right to have a holiday to honor him. And I'll talk about why that's true in just a minute. But as Cord said, Florida embraces this 250th anniversary that we'll be celebrating in 2026. We're starting this year. There's going to be things that we do all throughout 2025, leading up to the semi-quincentennial next year, all the way through July 4th of 2026. While others are tearing statues down, we are putting statues up to honor the heroes of our republic and our great history. I want to thank Mount Vernon for loaning this to us. I also want to thank Gay Gaines from down in Palm Beach, a great friend of ours, very passionate about our history. She's been on the Mount Vernon board for a long time and helped arrange this, and so we'll be having this for what, a year, I guess, we'll have here in Florida Capitol for people to be able to do. Now, Washington is a unique figure in American history, and he's almost In one respect, he's ubiquitous because Washington, D.C. is named after him. There's a state named after him. We have a county in Florida named after him. Many other states have things named after him. But it's almost as if it's been sanitized as just Washington means the capital or America or whatever, without reflecting on what really made him great. And it's often remarked, and it's true, as a military general, he obviously engineered an important victory, but he is not regarded as a great military strategist or on the level of some of the greatest generals in history. As a political theorist, that really wasn't his cup of tea. He's not somebody that probably could have written the Declaration of Independence the way Jefferson did, or helped structure the Constitution the way James Madison did. He was not somebody that was known necessarily for policies, even as a president. He was not somebody like Alexander Hamilton, who could crank out a report on manufacturers and show how the new nation become an economic superpower. And he was not a dynamic speaker. He was reserved. He was quiet. You know, he probably wouldn't be viable in today's climate, which very much values entertainment over accomplishment. And yet, we've never seen anybody like him. And why is that? It's because Washington exemplified leadership, he exemplified civic virtue, and he had character that not only was indispensable in founding the country, but keeping the new republic together in those early formative years. And yes, the Revolutionary War was one of the most improbable victories in all of human history. Britain was the most powerful nation on earth. Not only were the colonists not terribly powerful, they only had about a third of the colonists who were even supporting the revolution. A third were opposed, and a third were sitting on the fence. As we see throughout history, many people sit on the fence. And so it was really through force of will, through grit, through determination, going through some really, really difficult times that Washington was able to lead our then new country to victory. And it almost got derailed right at the beginning. There was a situation, a lot of the military officers were not happy with the lack of compensation. They were in Newburgh, New York, and there was a conspiracy afoot to basically subvert the fledgling republic, install a military dictatorship so that the military could be taken care of. And word got to Washington that this was afoot, and if that had been something that Washington had embraced, it probably would have been successful. But that was not why Washington sacrificed. He was not trying to put himself in power. He wanted to be a founder of a republic. And so word got to Washington. He went and he addressed the troops in Newburgh. And as he started to speak, he paused, he grabbed his spectacles from his jacket, and he put his glasses on, and he said, "Forgive me, but I've not only grown gray, but blind in the service of my country." And at that point, it kind of hit all these guys that, you know, we cannot let the old fox down with doing what we're doing. And the conspiracy basically evaporated immediately after Washington spoke. People don't talk about that, but our whole country could have been derailed if he did not have the fortitude to stand up and say what you're doing is wrong. We also saw Washington surrender his sword to the Continental Congress at the conclusion of the Revolutionary War. We kind of think now, oh, well, of course he would have done that. Why would you not? That was not the historical norm. When commanding generals succeeded in a revolution of that nature, they immediately went to install themselves in power. And Washington could have done that. He could have been the king of the United States of America if he wanted to do it. But instead, he showed up, he surrendered his commission, surrendered his sword, and went back to retire to Mount Vernon. When word of this got across the pond to King George III of Great Britain, King George III couldn't believe that someone would actually have refused power like that. And he said, if Washington actually did that, then he's the greatest man in the world. We also saw the Republic struggling in its early years. We had an Articles of Confederation. There were things that were just running asunder. There was different types of civil unrest that caused a lot of problems. And so there was a movement to establish a federal constitution. And of course they met in Philadelphia in 1787 and hammered this out, and it was ratified the next year. Washington was the president of that federal convention, and had Washington not supported the effort, the Constitution absolutely would not have been created and certainly would not have been ratified. And so although people like James Madison are considered the father of the Constitution because it was their political theory that informed how the Constitution was written and structured, the reality is that if they did not have GW, they would not have had a Constitution at all. And of course, he was pretty much unanimously elected president twice. He could have just ceremonially been elected as long as he wanted to, but he set the precedent of a two-term limit. And what he was trying to show was that he was not indispensable, that ultimately the Republic would go on and that you could elect different people to office. And that was a tradition that stood in this country until 1940 and then was eventually put in part of our Constitution following Franklin Roosevelt running for 4 terms. So Washington's virtue is something that we should study and we should honor, because at every moment he put the viability of the Republic and the good of the people over his personal desire for power. He could have taken power for himself multiple times, and he didn't. Now, we're often told that ours is a government of laws, not a government of men. That was a famous phrase that a lot of the founding generation used, and it's important, and it's true. And what it means is it's not about the individual. Nobody's indispensable. It's about reflecting the will of the people in a constitutional system. But even though we're built on the idea that nobody is indispensable, even though we operate on that idea, and even though it is in fact true, Washington is the exception to that rule. He was the indispensable leader. He was the one that kept this together. And without Washington, you can conceive of America getting off the ground successfully without Franklin, without Hamilton, without Madison, without Jefferson, without some of these guys. You cannot conceive of this having succeeded without George Washington. He truly was first in war, first in peace, and first in the hearts of his countrymen. I'm glad that we have this statute here today. I hope folks, particularly young people, will take the time over the next year, year and a half, to study the folks who were involved in creating and founding the United States of America. And although we celebrate the July 4th, 1776 of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and we say that's when America announced independence, we didn't actually achieve the independence until we won the war. And we didn't solidify that independence until we created a constitution and launched the new ship of state in a way that was durable. And Washington was the central figure in all of that. So I want to thank Byrd for making this happen. I want to thank Mount Vernon and my friend Gay Gaines for helping get this here. This is just the opening salvo of what we're going to be doing. We fully anticipate being able to do similar commemorations in the counties where you have named founding fathers. So Washington County, Hamilton County, Madison County, Jefferson County, Franklin County, and then all the way down south in Monroe County. And we will be doing other things over the next year and a half. So we're proud of being Americans. We're proud that our country was founded on really enduring principles. And we view 1776 and the aftermath as one of the most important moments in all of human history. Thank you all. God bless, and please enjoy the statute.